bum 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 ba-da-da-dum ba-dum 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 dum rum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Good evening. It's Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and I see you all coming in. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to teach you homeopathy. Teach you what I know, show you how to do this, and for you also to be somewhat part of this little community that we've got going here, that we've been doing for many years. And so for those of you who already know me, my friends, welcome. It's great to see you. Michigan, and yeah, Mighty Members, yes, and we'll be here for about 15-20 minutes, and then we're going to go to Joette's Mighty Members and answer some questions here and there. Laura's from Washington State, and Leidy from Charleston, and Middle Tennessee is where Kathy's from. It's wonderful to see you all. And we also have people from Ohio and Western Australia and Ajax, Ontario. Old friends, I see you time and again. Mexico City. So Lissa, wonderful to see you here. Yorktown, Virginia. More from Ontario and Oklahoma. So today we are going to talk about adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue, in a way, as homeopaths, it's really not as important a diagnosis as simply someone describing their fatigue. Now, can it be useful? I suppose it can be useful because it eliminates the possibility that perhaps it's hypothyroidism that's causing the fatigue, or it's anemia that's causing the fatigue. I must say that adrenal fatigue and those two and many other conditions can work simultaneously, or can be acting simultaneously. But the most important thing for us is what is the condition, and it would be fatigue. Now, fatigue is obviously very broad, but it also helps us then to use symptoms, specific symptoms. And so we're going to be talking about how, when I look this up in my repertory and I look under fatigue, I look at under the clinical section, and I look under fatigue. If you happen to have Robin Murphy's Meta Repertory, 4th edition, I'm on page 2225 under fatigue, general. It doesn't say adrenal fatigue, but it's fatigue. And so when we look at the medicines that are noted here in this particular rubric, we are going to be looking at it through the lens of adrenal fatigue. Now, generally, adrenal fatigue is not acute, meaning it's not something that comes and goes, has a natural beginning and a natural ending. You might have fatigue from the flu, but when the flu is over, then it's over generally. And so we're looking at something that's more on a chronic level, right? So when we look at this, I can see some pretty important medicines here to consider, such as aluminum and caladium, calcarb, china, arsenicum, graphites, gelsemium, nux vomica, napier. There's phosphoric acid. There's some really important ones here. But when we also look at stress, in the mind section, on page 250, we're going to be looking at the medicines that are listed here under stress, because adrenal fatigue generally is considered, and I don't know how perfect this is, how exact a science this is, but it's generally considered a condition that occurs as a result of elongated stress that's been going on too long. So when we look at stress, feels stressed or feels overwhelmed or is stressed, and long-term stress, then we're going to look at those medicines as well. And there we see the same medicines, not in the same value, but we see arsenicum and calcarb and napier, etc., Ignatia. So this gives us the roadmap. It doesn't tell us exactly what we're going to do. It just gives us the roadmap. So, I love to see you coming in. Yeah, hello from Tucson. Buffalo. Hi, Kimberly from Buffalo, New York, and hello from Florida. It's great to see you all. Chicopee, Massachusetts. Always loved that name. Speak more directly into the microphone. I will do that. I hope that helps you. Some of you have do complain that you can't hear me so well unless I speak directly into the microphone, and others have no trouble with it at all. So I will try to compensate as best I can and make this work. Kimberly, sending you love, Joe. It's really nice to see you here too. Excuse me. So let's talk about adrenal fatigue. What are the symptoms? Fatigue, right? But there's also dizziness sometimes. There's often weakness. There could be hormonal disorders, as I said, like hypothyroidism. There can even be depression and other illnesses, even mental illnesses. There can also be fibromyalgia and insomnia. Now, many people have just a touch of this and a drop of that, but the most noteworthy condition is the fact that they have this fatigue. So we understand that. We understand that it's fatigue. We don't have to know that it is adrenal fatigue necessarily. We just know that it's fatigue. Now we're going to look at what other symptoms are the kind of the constellation around it. What other symptoms are associated with this person suffering with fatigue? Okay. Oh, I'm glad you can hear me better. Good. And let me also say there can also be aches and pains, fibromyalgia. I think I said that, hair loss, low blood sugar. And even some people have symptoms of craving for sugar or craving for salt. And so what we're going to do is look at the medicines that are related to some of those those symptoms that are part of the constellation that are related around this kind of fatigue. So I know that you know that I'm sure you know, if you're interested in adrenal fatigue, then you know that it's cortisol is the problem. There isn't enough cortisol. It's not producing it. And cortisol is what's used up or used up. I'm not sure that's the word. Depleted perhaps from stress. Generally, it's not from a small stress. Sometimes, more often, it's an ongoing stress. It's a stress that's been going on for a long period of time. But sometimes a person will have an elongated stress, and then they have relief, and they're better, and it seems as though they're reviving, and the body's able to cope with the stress. And then another stress comes along, and it's only a small one. It's just a tiny stress. And so then they get slammed with the fatigue that lasts for a much longer period of time. And they're thinking, for goodness sakes, all it was just a little, a worry one night about my husband coming home, whether or not he was in an automobile accident. And it only lasted for a couple of hours. But goodness sakes, ever since then, I have been quite fatigued. So my number one medicine that I think is absolutely the easiest one to determine that it may indeed be correct, that is often the easier one to find, and we can use it in a nice low potency, such as a 6X or a 6C. We can use it in a 30 as well, is Cali-Phos, or otherwise known as Kalium phosphoricum. And Cali-Phos is particularly valuable when there's not only a weakness physically, but also mentally. So it could be that the person feels weak mentally after they've been studying for too long or concentrating for long periods of time. I often use Kalium-Phos or Cali-Phos for students who are going through exams. They may not have adrenal fatigue. They may not have something that's chronic, but they note that they're feeling fatigued mentally. They're pushing themselves very hard, and I always urge them to consider taking Kali Phos 6X, 6C, maybe even a 30X or a 30C, and take it a couple times a day. And oftentimes that will revive them. In fact, I urge them to put the bottle of Kali Phos right on their desk where they're working away on their assignments, on their studies for school. So Kali Phos is excellent for both physical and or mental, and there can be a nervousness, of course. So imagine someone about to preparing for an exam. They can have irritability. They feel irritable that they can't get through their studies, or they just feel irritable, and also a kind of a sadness, even depression can prevail. I'm looking at some of my notes so that I can remember. I don't want to forget anything here. It can also be related to a long-term stress, such as maybe they're in law school, maybe they're in medical school, and they've been studying for a very long period of time, and there's a great deal of stress for long periods of time. Kali Phos can be very useful when there is fatigue, whether it's adrenal fatigue or not, but more often than not, if they're going to be tested, that is what may show up, as well as mental fatigue. They also have difficulty sleeping. It seems strange, doesn't it, if someone has fatigue, that they don't sleep well, but their central nervous system is revved up or dropped down, and it can be up or down and all around, and it's not holding tight. And so they might fall asleep at inappropriate times, like the middle of the day, and then they can't fall asleep at night. Or they fall asleep at night and then wake, and fall asleep and then wake. So it is a great medicine for that restless sleep, for insomnia in general, and for sleeplessness just, in general. So that's Kali Phos. Now, I'm going to suggest to you, my friends, some people say, well, can't I use all of them? Well, you know what? I'm going to say we're always better off, if possible, to really edit, to choose the medicine that best fits the picture and use that for a while. And if you see no good response over a period of days, well, you might even see a response within a day or so. But if you don't see a response within days or a week or so, time to move along and move on to another homeopathic medicine. Now, it depends on how important is it that you get this resolved, because if you need to have this resolved pretty quickly, and it's just not. And what I mean by that is, if this is an acute situation and you need to have it resolved in short order because you're going through tests, academic tests, then you might want to take it maybe 2 or 3 times in a 6X, for example, per day for a few days, and see if that doesn't kind of bring things back up into clarity and more comfort level. And if that's so, then you can back off, you can taper off, and then as you need it, you respond again, and you go ahead and continue taking it. Now, if it's a more chronic condition, then I'm going to say, no, I would not say take it that many times. I would say if it's a true adrenal fatigue and it's been coming on over months, many weeks or months, then I would say twice daily would be a very good way to approach this. My second choice medicine. And this does not mean that for you, this is first and that's second. I'm just telling you, why is it my second choice? And why is Kali Phos my first choice? Because I find that these are the medicines that most often show up. They're most commonly noted in my practice, and have been reported in other practices such as Homeopathies and the Banerjees. When I was working with, for example, Pradeep Banerjee. This is the kind of thing that we used to talk about. And Ignatia is my second choice. Not second in line, but second one to discuss with you. Sorry if I made that unclear. I don't want to say it's second in choice, but it's my second medicine I want to discuss tonight, and that's Ignatia, Ignatia. The second word is Amara, but otherwise known as plain old garden variety Ignatia. And I like this medicine in a 200. We can use it in a 30. Yes, we can. But I like it in a 200. And this is how we determine whether or not Ignatia is our choice. There can be insomnia. There can be a low-level chronic sadness or overwhelm, feeling as though life is just too big and the person is being swallowed up by the unhappy aspects of their life. Can be mood swings, and also the person can be irritable or even hopeless, almost depression. And in a way, it can be depression. But this is not what I would call necessarily depression where someone would want to out themselves. This is the kind of depression where it's a kind of a low level, and there are other aspects that are related to it, such as the irritability and feeling overwhelmed. Now, don't hold me to that, my friends. Should you find that Ignatia seems to fit on so many other levels and this person is suffering from this tremendous fatigue, otherwise perhaps known as adrenal fatigue, if indeed it was diagnosed as that, and you find that the person has deep depression in addition to that, and Ignatia fits, don't discard this. Do consider it. It's just that it's more often not a deep depression associated with Ignatia. A hopelessness, yes. Also, there can be an indifference to the things that the person normally enjoys, because they've kind of lost interest in what used to excite them. They lose interest in kind of everything. That's Ignatia 200. And how might we use that? I love it as twice a day. I like it twice a day. And for how long does the person take it for? Until it's no longer needed. So if we find that the medicine is acting, the person feels brighter. There's more spark to them. There's more renewed interest in their lives and in the interest that they up until that time had embraced. If we see that occurring, then we stop the medicine. We stop Ignatia 200 twice daily and taper off and see how they do without it. If they do well without it, they're on their way. The homeopathic has acted properly. If instead you find after a couple of days, oh my gosh, no, this is not right. I felt better for a day or two after I halted the use of Ignatia 200 twice daily, but now I feel like, I really need that again. So we use it again. We resume Ignatia 200 twice daily and carry on, and we're always looking for that tipping point. At what point can we say that this person is now enough, the condition is enough resolved that we can taper off, perhaps permanently, perhaps not. If it's needed again, 6 months later, three weeks later, whatever it might be, my friends, we simply resume using the homeopathic medicine. Lovely, isn't it? Let's see if we have any questions. Hi, Phoenicia. There are lots of people here today that I saw just yesterday at our big celebration for those who have graduated from our Academy of Practical Homeopathy. It's really great to see you all. It's wonderful to see you, Phoenicia. We're still going through the lovely gifts that you gave us to go through. So much fun. Okay, so now let's look at some other medicines that I like to think of. My next medicine, not in line of importance, but rather simply because this is a great medicine, and it is Arsenicum album. Arsenicum album. Arsenicum and album, just like a photo album, Arsenicum album. Arsenicum album has fatigue, adrenal fatigue, or just fatigue, regardless of what organ may be underperforming associated with it. It has to do with fatigue and weakness. But there's also this frenetic aspect to it, where the person is restless and dashing about and fixing this and cleaning that and organizing, and at some point they just drop. They're just beat. And they feel very weak. And I'm not talking about, although overexertion can certainly be a part of this, but my friends, I'm not talking about one day or one night. I'm talking about something that carries on. And we see this behavior happening time and again, where they feel frenetic and they're dashing about and they have to have everything just so, and then they just drop from the exhaustion. So it's a lack of strength even. And there can also be anxiety. Often it's chronic anxiety, kind of anxiety where the person can even have a panic attack and they feel as though they're never going to get better. Life is really awful. I think I'll only get worse. I'm very sick. I'm going to get sicker. This is too much. I don't know what to do. I just can't handle this. And that is Arsenicum album. What potency? What frequency? I like to use Arsenicum album generally for this kind of condition in a 200C once or twice a day for a few days, and test it out, my friends. These medicines are not supplements nor vitamins, so they're not to be taken forevermore. You take them until there's an improvement, and once there's improvement that's settled in, then we back off and we taper away. Now, if there's no improvement over a period of a few days or so, what do? Abort. Get out, get rid of it. You're not going to use a medicine that doesn't act. I want you to see some kind of improvement, even a small improvement, even if the fatigue remains, but now the depression has lifted. Now, the insomnia is not as intense. The sleep is restoring. And the person is feeling a little more calm. They might still have the fatigue, yet there are other aspects of their suffering that has let up, has resolved, or at least softened to a certain degree. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give you one more medicine, and that is, where we go, it is phosphoric acid. Phosphoric, P-H-O-S-P-H-O-R-I-C, phosphoric acid, or acidum, phosphoricum, acidum, phosphoric acid. Well, we have lots of different names, abbreviations for some of these homeopathic medicines, and for this is also to do with weakness, but phosphoric acid is often, my friends, associated with overuse of drugs. Using drugs, they can weaken the system. They can cause a fatigue. Now, what's overusing drugs? In my estimation, my friends, any use of drugs is overuse. So if somebody just had surgery, which was they had no choice, it was something they had to do, and of course they had drugs. They had to have general anesthesia, they had to have antibiotics, probably something to relax them beforehand, afterwards, pain relievers, etc., etc. And then after that surgery, they have fatigue. My friends, I see that as a picture of phosphoric acid, or Phosphoricum acidum. And I like to use that in a 30 or a 200C twice daily. So what other ways might drugs cause trouble? Well, how about somebody who's on drugs regularly, every day? Forget the acutes. There is no surgery. It's just blood pressure drugs every day, birth control pills every day. That can set up a need for phosphoric acid. But there's something a little different about this person. It's not just that they're weak, my friends. It is also that they are indifferent. There's an indifference. They lose interest in life. They spend a lot of time on the sofa. And they have no interest in tasks, taking on their usual tasks. They don't want to work. And so this is a great medicine for that kind of a circumstance, associated with adrenal fatigue or any other fatigue for that matter. All right. Did I not tell you what potency for Arsenicum album? I believe I said 200C. Okay, my friends, there are many more. I mean, we could spend the evening going over this, but I wanted to give you the top medicines that I see most useful for adrenal fatigue or plain old garden variety fatigue. And so, my friends, I'm going to click over to Joette's Mighty Members and answer questions there. And then I'll see you, those of you who are not clicking over, I'll see you next week. God bless you all. And I'll see my friends now in Joette's Mighty Members. Okay, we all set? Great. Hi, friends. Should I assume, says Leslie, that we wait for a symptom before treating if a biopsy ID'd esophageal and Barrett's esophagus, and another test showed 100% sensitivity to cow's milk, 71% to egg whites, but et cetera, and now avoiding those foods means no symptoms until the foods are back. Should I assume we wait for a symptom before treating? No. Well, what are the symptoms? What were your symptoms that led you to be concerned about this condition? You don't need to wait. You already know. Otherwise, you would not have gone to find out all of this. What are your symptoms? Is it bloating? Is it indigestion? Is it blood in the stool? Is it diarrhea? Is it constipation? That's what you're going to use, my friend, for when you determine, so that you can determine what medicines to use. And so in that case, what you're going to do, I'm going to urge you to get to Good Gut, Bad Gut, because that is really, we've got another computer going here. You're going to go to Good Gut, Bad Gut, Joette's Learning Center, and read up on that if you don't already have it, although you may already, sounds to me like you may understand by already having that course, Good Gut, Bad Gut. But let me also say, if you, Leslie, have the course, Good Gut, Bad Gut, I urge you to watch it, not once. Don't go over it twice. Don't study it 3 times. Study it 4 times. Because I guarantee you missed something. If you have that course, you missed something that would pull this all together for you. Okay. You love my headband. Thank you. Terry, thanks. Lynn from Los Angeles, hi to all. She's saying, what is the address to send your ideas to discuss? I think you just, you can, Perry, how do they send that? I guess that's to Joette's Mighty Members. I think that's the way they're going for information on, or requests for specific topics. I believe you just go to Joette's Mighty Members and ask there, and I'm sure someone will catch it for you. It's a great course, Kimberly says. Yes, I'm glad you like it. Okay, what is the top remedy for toddlers' fear of Roomba vacuum? Even at the neighbor's house, even just hearing it while outside on the porch. 3-year-old is already taking Ignatia twice a day for fear of any vacuum at home since babyhood. He now tolerates the noise while wearing headphones. Well, it's unfortunate that he has to wear the headphones. But yes, Ignatia can be very sensitive. There are other medicines that can be useful for oversensitivity to sounds. Now, my friends, I just wrote about this, sensitivity to sounds. And if you go to Joette Calabrese on my blog, you will see, I think it was 2 weeks ago I talked about that. I was on that subject. What would you suggest for anxiety in teens, mainly social anxiety? Well, we do have social anxieties, but it depends on what you mean by social anxiety. In other words, forthcoming events, or just plain social anxiety all day, all the time. We think of for forthcoming events, we think of gelsemium. And for regular, everyday garden variety anxiety about being around others and being comfortable with other people, I like silica. I think silica is a great medicine for that. And that's taken twice daily, and we could use it in a low potency. Okay, a friend is overwhelmed from workload from studying and a professor who is demanding and chooses aconitum. Should I tell her to take Caliphos 30 instead? Listen, if aconitum is helping, by all means, just allow this person to carry on with it. But if it's not helping, then yes, I would certainly consider Caliphos, and I would go with a 6. Start with Caliphos 6. Then they can use it, with impunity and not worry about, it's a little on the medium high side. Any remedy for athlete's foot that had, now I want Joette Calabrese's athlete's foot. I've written about it. You'll find it in my blog. Let's see. What is your favorite remedy for drippy nose every morning in young adult ever since childhood only vaccine was DPT at age 8? It depends on what happens with that drippy nose. Is there excoriation of the upper lip and a drippy nose? Then we might be thinking of Allium cepa. We might also want to consider something like sanguinaria. That's also a very good medicine for sinus issues, nose issues.